Welcome to back. Good way. That school is made by 22 bones. And in the school, cranium that is made by 8 bones. And face bone is 40 bones. Face that is made by 14 bones. 14 bones. Okay. Skeletal that is this means ki cranium that is made by 8 bones and face that is made by 14 bones. So now that is the cranium that is made by 8 bones. Where 8 bones is, which 8 bones is happen in the cranium? Good way that is the cranium. Cranium that is the brain box in which brain present. Okay. Now that cranium is made by 8 bones and cranium is formed cranial cavity for lodging of brain. This means for percent of brain in which cranial cavity brain is present. Okay, this means कि cranium form cranial cavity for logging of brain. This means in the cranial cavity, this is the cranial cavity or in the cranium cavity, brain is present. Okay, and this outside we see here, you are seeing the fingers. This outside is the cranium, and inside a space is made, a cavity is made, and this cavity is called cranium cavity for lodging of brain. Okay, next, that is the in cranial bones. Cranial bones, that is frontal bone. One frontal bone is present that form head, forehead. Okay, that form forehead. This means one frontal bone is present. Okay, second, that is one pair parietal bone. What is where parietal bone is present? Parietal form roof of cranial cavity. Okay, parietal form roof of cranial cavity. So frontal one bone, parietal two bone. Frontal that is present forehead, parietal that form roof of cranial cavity. So two bones. Okay, frontal one bone, parietal two bones, three bones. Okay, third, that is the temporal. Temporal is also one pair and it is present. This means temporal forms side wall of cranial cavity. This is the cranial cavity from the upper side. This means upper of cranial cavity, parietal bone present. This is parietal bone for roof of cranial cavity. Okay, and temporal that form side wall of cranial cavity is formed by temporal bone that form side wall of cranial cavity, that is one pair, left side one and other right side one bone. So temporal bone is one pair and that forms side of cranial cavity, and parietal that is one, parietal bone number is one, that is from roof of cranial cavity. Okay, and this temporal that forms side wall of cranial cavity that covers, this temporal covers middle plus internal ear. Okay, occipital bone is number also 1. Sphenoid bone number is 1. Sphenoid bone's shape is butterfly shape. Sphenoid bone shape is butterfly shape. And last, that is the ethmoid bone. This is also one. By this way you can got that in the cranium bones. Cranium is made by 8 bones. One is frontal, 2 is parietal, temporal bone is 2, occipital 1, sphenoid 1, ethmoid 1. By you can got 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 bones is present in cranium. This is cranium is bound by cranium is formed by 8 bones. Okay, and facial bone is 14 bones. After that you can understand that skull that is made by 22 bones. So next, that is the face bones. Face bones that is made by face, that face is made by 14 bones. Okay, next, that is the face bone, and face bone that is formed by 14 bones. Where 14 bones is present in the face, you can see here that in the nasal. Nasal means nose. Nasal means nose. If matter is comes of the nasal, then you understand the nasal means nose, and nasal cavity, this means a space of the nose. Okay. Here we are saying that in the nasal, this means in the nose, 2 bones is present. In the nasal, 2 bones present. And which 2 bones is present in nasal? That form bony part of nose. 2 bones present in nasal that form bony part of nose. Okay. Vomer. That is vomer is present below nasal bone. Nasal means nose. This means vomer is present below nose bone, nasal bone. And its number is 1. Not only vomer, but inferior terminals, its number is 2. And vomer's number is 1. And inferior terminals, bone's number is 2. Okay. And vomer, this is the name of bones. Vomers and inferior terminals present below nasal bone. Vomer and inferior terminals present below nasal bone. Maxilla. In the maxilla, 2 bones present, and this maxilla form upper jaw. Maxilla form upper jaw, and maxilla is formed by 2 bones. Lacrimal, you know, and you, if you don't know, then know now that lacrimal. From the lacrimal gland, tears is secreted from the eyes. From the, if you weep, at the time tears is secreted from your eyes. That tears is secreted by lacrimal gland. This means lacrimal, its number is 2. Lacrimal, in the lacrimal 2 bone is present. Okay. And platin that is present in hard plate behind maxilla, and its number is 2. In the platin 2 bone is present, and where platin is present? So platin is present in hard plate behind maxilla. Okay, this is the zygomatic and also called molar bones, and zygomatic or molar bones, its number is 2. This is the upper part. This part which are you seeing now, this part is called the zygomatic. This means the prominence part which now you are seeing. This prominence part of cheek is called zygomatic, so it's also called cheekbone. Okay, this is the prominent part of cheek. A zygomatic bones So it's also called cheekbones because this bones is present in cheek. Okay, so zygomatic bones is also called cheekbones. Next, that is the mandible. Mandible, number of bone is 1. Okay, this mandible form lower jaw, and it is very necessary to know that mandible, in the mandible number of bone is 1, and mandible form lower jaw. Okay, mandible form lower jaw, maxilla form upper jaw. Maxilla form upper jaw, mandible form lower jaw, and this mandible articulate with temporal bone. Where temporal bone is present? That temporal bone is present side of cranial cavity. Okay, side part of cranium. This is the cranium cavity inside. This is the cranium part, and side part of cranium is called temporal bone, and this mandible articulate with temporal bone, and it's called craniostylic jaw. Craniostylic jaw, mandible form lower jaw. By this way, you have known that in the skull 22 bones present, and skull is divided into 2 parts. One is the cranium part and other is the face part. Cranium part that is made by 8 bones, and face part that is made by 14 bones. And you have taken the completely knowledge of that bones, 8 bones of the cranium and 14 bones of the face, you have known. Okay, thank you.